Good morning, Sarah. Good morning.
Morning.
Let me just make sure you can share your screen. There you go. Uh, Part of Team SFC is here in Salt Lake City for the Alliance for Early Success Connect meeting. So there are folks from all 50 states and federal advocacy, national organizations here. They do it. There's about 400 people here, so it's been great to be here. Titus, Marissa, Shakira, and I are here, and Marge, Neri, and are holding down the fort in Massachusetts. Um, I've already invited some folks to join us in the 9:30 call in January. And so, Sarah, with that, I'll turn things over to you. And is Eugenia here? There's Eugenia. Good morning. We look forward to hearing your update. This came from many 9:30 call questions about some of these topics, so we're so glad you're here.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Hi, everybody. Um, I'm Sarah Sian. I work at EEC, and I'm happy to be here today. And I'm joined by many of my EEC colleagues. Eugenia Soilis is here. Ellen Grandine is here. Regina Tabé is here. And there may be others that I can't see. And I also see that I'm joined by many of my partners at the community colleges from the Career Pathways program. And so I welcome you, Career Pathways coordinators, to please put your name, college, and contact information in the chat to help people as we go through this who may want to reach out to you. So I will give a very quick overview because I'm such a repeat on the 9:30 call. You've probably heard much of this before. But I spent most of my career in direct service to children and families as an educator and director. I got my start in workforce development with Neighborhood Villages. And then I transferred over to EEC, where I support multiple workforce pathways, one of which is career pathways. Um,
And Sarah, I know you may have other just for 9:30 callers who are here, Regina Tabe is one of the Early Childhood Policy Pathway Fellows. So we're excited to have you back.
and she's amazing, and she gets credit for how beautiful the slides look because she spruced them up. So they're amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just go through some updates with you about career pathways. Can you all see it?
We can.
Awesome. Okay. So as Amy said, I come to you after many questions from the 9:30 call about career pathways, and also just questions that we know are out there around career pathways, and is it still around, and how do I access it, and can we still get supported coursework for our educators or for ourselves? So the answer is yes. Career pathways is alive and well at the community colleges. It is a little bit of a different access procedure now, so that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today. So the biggest thing I think that's changing is that the program is switching from supporting single college courses, as you may have been familiar with in the past, where you could just go and take the one course that you needed because that is what EEC said that you needed, was just child growth and development, or just 3 more courses for the teacher. And so as we're ramping up and rolling into the new credential, which is forthcoming, we are moving away from supporting single courses to supporting a matriculated college certificate pathway. So what this means is that to get access to funding and courses, educators will need to matriculate and enroll at the college, and get into a pathway for what we're calling the foundational certificate, which is being rolled out at all of the colleges. And so this is pretty much the biggest change, is that you can't just sort of jump in and say, quick, I want one class, sign me up. There's a bit more of a process. And I'm going to get a little bit more into that. But what you can see is this foundational certificate that is rolling out at all the 15 community colleges, is a 16 credit certificate. And it covers what is currently needed for for teacher and for lead teacher. So it really takes care of what people need right now because EEC certification is still in place. So teachers still do need child growth and development to become teacher certified, and they do need 4 courses to become lead teacher certified. The biggest difference in this pathway is the addition of a 4-credit practicum, which most educators can do where they're working. So it's not a situation where they have to be pulled out of their classroom and work somewhere else, because we know that these are educators who are working in the fields and need to stay in their positions. So there's a little bit of a different sequence. You also notice that the new sequence starts with Intro to Early Childhood Education, and that's because we've heard over and over and over again that child growth and development being a theory class is not necessarily makes sense as the first or best start to educators. Educators will start with Intro to Child Growth and Development and then take Intro to Early Childhood Education, and then take Child Growth and Development. They need 9 months of experience working anyway to get that teacher certificate. So likely by the time they've finished the 9 months, they're also finishing child growth and development. We encourage them to apply for EEC certification at that time for teacher. And then if they want to go on to lead teacher, they're enrolled in the foundational certificate. They take the rest of the courses they need, and they can apply for lead teacher when they're done. And they have the added benefit of a supervised practicum where they're really practicing applying what they've learned in the courses to their work under the guidance of a cooperating teacher and a college practicum supervisor.
Yeah, and Sarah, I just wanted to
Yeah.
call out in the chat too. No presenting and talking is you can't see everything, but we have a couple questions in the chat about whether family child care programs can do the practicum in their own program if they're working for themselves. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to call that out too.
That's a great question, and that's really college dependent because it's a college course and they're getting credit. You're getting credit from a college for that practicum. So it really depends on if the particular college where you enroll is able to give you credit for working in your home business. And it really varies from college to college. So I would encourage you to reach out to your local community college and ask that question. And it's something that certainly I think needs to be considered and is worthy of conversation so that we are supporting our family child care educators. Thank you, Eugenia. Feel free to jump in with any other questions because yes, I am not looking at the chat. So career pathways is much more of a support system based on support, less on tuition now. So Career Pathways Grant supports a grant coordinator at each community college. And what that grant coordinator will help you with is they'll help you understand your college process. They'll help you apply to the college. So you're not doing any of this on your own. I did mention that it's new procedures that you would have to do, but there's a lot of support. So the Career Pathways Coordinator will help you apply to the college and matriculate, will help you with your financial aid options. All of the colleges are working very closely with the other departments, the admissions department and the offices of financial aid. So they're offering information sessions to get you what you need. You'll get help reviewing your transcripts and any prior college coursework you've taken, making sure you're selecting and enrolling in the registering for the course that you need. And understanding and making use of college supports. The community colleges all of them have unbelievable support services for their students, from tutoring, advising, a writing center, basic living needs, food pantries, and sometimes we know that our career pathways students who are taking single courses sort of outside of the college in the past haven't always been aware of these services or had access to them or known that they had access to them. And so part of the goal of encouraging students to matriculate and enter into these certificate programs is that they're really being welcomed into the fold of the college where there's so much available to support them as they go through their time. This is just a map of the community colleges across the state. This is on our Career Pathways website as well, so you can see it. And again, if you are here from one of our community colleges, please make sure that your information is in the chat. It's also on our website. The Career Pathways website that I know Eugenia dropped in the chat has a list of all the community colleges and who their coordinators are and their contact information. But if they're here, it would be great to make themselves known in the chat. So just quickly, I'm going to go through getting started. This process is really the same as it's been. Educators should select a college that's convenient to their home or work. When they get to the practicum, they're going to need visits from their college supervisor, who's not going to come visit them if they're at a college across the state. So that's really important to think about, is the location. You also need to take these courses at the same college. You can't jump around and get a certificate from a college. The college wants you to have at least 4, if not all 5 of the classes at their college. So if you've taken courses at colleges before, it'd be a good idea to reach out to that college and perhaps return there or figure out what credit will transfer for you. And if you are interested in taking the courses in a language other than English, there are some opportunities for that, which might alter your geographic availability, but it's worth looking into and talking to the folks at the college. Really important, educators have to do this themselves. They have to reach out on their own. Directors, we know you love to help them and support them and be there for them, but they really have to take this step on their own. They're going to have to enroll in the college. They're going to have to apply for financial aid. They're going to have to take the course and do the work. So it's really important. You can support them by helping them to take the steps that they need to do and walking them through it, but they really need to do it themselves. And then connect with the college. It's really as simple as reaching out via email to the Career Pathways Grant Coordinator at the college and saying, I'm interested in the foundational certificate. I'm interested in early childhood classes, and the coordinator will get back to you with all of the information that you need to get started. And now is actually the perfect time because colleges are beginning to enroll for the January semester now, or in a couple weeks. And I'll get to that in a minute. But there are several steps to take now that there's college admission and financial aid. It's really important to be on top of those steps and leave yourself enough time to get those things done. It's not going to work to reach out to the college the week before the class starts. There just won't be enough time for you to get enrolled. And here, on that note, here is the timeline, the general timeline. This process does require a lot more planning and preparation. So you can see that we are in October, November right now, and registration is beginning for the spring semester that starts in January. Some colleges have accelerated semesters, one that starts in January and one that starts in March or April, and might be registering for both of them right now. So it's just really, really perfect timing to be on this call right now, as this is the time that educators would be wanting to reach out. I'm going to stop sharing, but I have one, and then so I can answer questions, but I just wanted to make one more point, that child growth and development is still available as a one-off course. It's one of the only one-off courses. So you can, your educator can take child growth and development, but that's all they'd be able to take as a sort of single standalone funded course, that if they wanted to go on to become lead teacher, they would need to matriculate in this certificate to get the rest of the classes, except for director. The director classes, which are not part of any matriculated certificate, are also being funded by the colleges. So at some colleges, that's administration. Some colleges are offering both administration and supervision. And sometimes the additional course that you need to become director. So there is still that opportunity for anybody who, you must be lead teacher certified to get grant funding for that, that director course, because it doesn't really do you any good without already being lead teacher certified. So yeah, that's my spiel.
And Sarah, I just want to call out too. I think Sarah has done tremendous work since she started at EEC to make sure opportunities are available for folks who work in early childhood who want to go back to school. So we have a couple of opportunities. Career Pathway, as Sarah just shared, is a wonderful one for folks who are kind of starting on that pathway. They want to get access to some core courses that will help them reach some of our optional certification levels or get some skills in early childhood early on. We also have the scholarship, which Sarah and I have done a lot of sessions, and I see some familiar faces to come and join with us for people who want to go back to get like a master's degree or an undergraduate degree or an associate's degree. And we try to help pay for that too. Sarah and I are like trying to spend every dollar possible. This year, we will certainly do that. But we will have a new round opening up in the spring, so we'll make sure folks are aware when those applications become available for folks who are looking for a full degree. But I did just want to call out that like career pathways is a wonderful way to get support, access to resources, access to guidance from somebody as you're trying to figure out your pathway into higher ed courses. And we also have a scholarship too for folks who are like, I want to go back to school. I want to get my early childhood degree. I'm like ready to go. So we have lots of places for folks to get those access. And I just want to say a huge shout out to Sarah, who, since she's joined the EEC team, I think way more people are aware of these opportunities, and we've really expanded them to meet the needs. I saw a question about out of school time there too, to have more degrees that we're able to accommodate to meet the needs of that. So just wanted to say a big thank you to Sarah. Yeah.
Thanks, Eugenia. Thanks for that push and reminder about the scholarship too. It is still open for applications to start in the January term. And like Eugenia said, it will open up in April or May for next academic year. Eugenia and I make a big push to spend all of the money, and we're getting close. So if you're interested, apply soon, because when and if the money runs out, we will close it before December 1st, which is the scheduled close date.
Great. There's lots of chat, which is really exciting. Thank you, Eugenia, for monitoring it for Sarah. There's also, so what was will OST educators be expected to take the foundational certificate at this time?
Not at
Yeah.
this time.
And,
Go
and
ahead, Eugenia.
yeah, no, yeah, you can probably speak to it better than I can. I said right now what we have is optional certification. So if you want to show your skills as a teacher, lead teacher, director, you can come in. It's not required, but there's optional certifications. We still have those minimum hiring requirements. So there are expectations that folks have done some work and skills, but the certification itself is optional. The foundational certification, I think, as Sarah was saying, is a really easy way for you to get all those requirements checked off and help folks grow and advance in the field. Sarah, am I misspeaking
Yeah.
anywhere there? Are there any
So
clarifications?
there's no
Yeah.
change in EEC requirements at this time for what out of school time educators need. So at this time, out of school time educators are not required to be certified or take the foundational certificate. It would more be if it's of interest to you. If you are an out of school time educator, you don't have to go for the foundational certificate. You could go for your associate's degree or bachelor's degree through the ECE scholarship, because out of school time is eligible for the ECE scholarship. So you could just go for one of those, and you wouldn't have to get it in early childhood. You could get it in elementary education or psychology or social work. There's a lot of different majors available through the ECE scholarship. And so if you weren't interested in a foundational certificate in early childhood, you could look into something else and you would be eligible. I did see one question flash on that I wanted to address, and that is about, is this foundational certificate grant funded? Which I think is really important, and sorry I missed it. What we're moving to, part of this move to matriculated certificate, is to leverage existing funding. So the process is to complete the FAFSA and apply for what you might be eligible for at a community college. So some people might be eligible for Pell, some people might be eligible for Mass Educate or Mass Reconnect. You are also need to complete the ECE scholarship application, because if you're eligible for that, that's how you'll fund it. So the goal is to leverage these generous things like free community college that our legislators have given to us in Massachusetts. And so the goal is to leverage those funding sources as sources of tuition first. And then each community college does have some grant money to fund people who are not otherwise eligible for financial aid, and each college is handling that process on their own. They have a process for how to apply if you're not FAFSA eligible. For example, if you have a bachelor's degree in another discipline or from another country, you wouldn't be eligible for the financial aid. So you would be considered for career pathways funding at the college. There are also some residency and citizenship requirements for the FAFSA. And so some people are excluded from applying for those reasons. You should still reach out to your career pathways coordinator, because they will help you to leverage grant funds if you're eligible for them outside of the FAFSA. But the first step in the process is to leverage federal and state funds first, and get what you can. And then career pathways covers maybe what's left, if anything, or students who aren't eligible for that
Yeah. I
that
think
funding.
the good news too is if you're looking to go back to school and trying to figure out what your options are, as like Sarah kind of started with, like reaching out to the community college in your area is a really good starting place, because you can get someone who can talk you through the options, and they can work with you to see how we can help pay for those courses. There's different ways, but I think in the end, the way to access most of those is to reach out to one of the grantees, and they can walk you through that in your particular situation.
And so I think that's the headline, because there's also there, as we know, there are so many individual circumstances and like as Sarah said, like putting all these pieces together. Um, I'll just run through chat. Patricia says, I just want to echo and agree with Eugenia said. Those courses are developed with other experts and they're really solid and comprehensive. They feel like a great option for anyone in the ECE field or anyone that wants to learn anything and keep growing. Sarah says, thank you for explaining the interplay between career pathways, a scholarship, and free community college. And thank you, Regina, for adding links in chat. Natalia wonders where we can find eligibility. And I was at 9:53, so I don't know what you were saying, but it might be for FAFSA or financial aid, maybe. And
So
then would
if you,
all costs be covered under the career pathways and other grants?
for the most part, yes, all costs are covered. It's just a matter of what funding stream you go through, and that's really up to the college. Once you apply to FAFSA and apply for the ECE scholarship, the financial aid people who work wonders in the financial aid offices at the colleges help you understand your financial aid package and what is covered. My understanding is that those sources do cover the cost of the certificate. And like I said, if you're not eligible for any of those sources, then there are career pathways dollars that the grant coordinators have the discretion to use to fund additional people who fall outside of that. And it's really an amazing opportunity. So hopefully people are either able to leverage this federal or state funding that's available or career pathways funding, but there should be something for everyone.
And what about international students?
So international students probably aren't eligible to apply for the FAFSA, so would fall into that category of needing to reach out and talk to the Career Pathways Grant Coordinator and see what Career Pathways funding is available for them. Because if they are residents of another country, then they can't apply for FAFSA.
I see.
Yeah. And I'll call out kind of related to that. I saw a question on what languages our courses offered
Yeah.
in. It does vary across the community colleges. And what we've tried to do, if you look at the career pathways page, is you can see the different contacts for reaching out to somebody at a community college, but you can also see what languages they might offer and if there's a contact for that language too. So that's a really good starting point if you're trying to figure out like what you're trying to do, who you need to talk to, what courses they might have, and the language you'd like to take them in as well.
And I also just want to add that that is on our mind at EEC, that language access. And so we are working on additional opportunities that are forthcoming for more and greater language access to these courses.
And then there was a specific question, but I think it just kind of highlights the kind of interconnectedness. Hi, Sarah and Eugenia. What's the best course of action for an educator who has a BA and an MA from Albania, her CDA, and is working as a lead teacher with the goal of becoming Director 1 certified? Is it worth getting her transcripts translated to determine PLC, or if she should start from scratch?
That's a great question, and that's really up to the college that they would want to go to. Is if they're already lead teacher certified, then reaching out to the community college to get the access to administration courses would help them get to director. But that's a really great question for a career pathways coordinator who could help them understand all of that stuff that happens in terms of transfer credit or credits from other countries happens at the discretion and domain of the college. And so the college can really help the educator understand what credits they have, what that will help, what they might need. And if they have questions sort of how those things relate to certification, they can always ask us at EEC. And you can always reach out to me directly too.
There's
I can
lots
put
of
my
great
email in the
jobs.
chat.
Thank you. Thank you for telling. Thank you. And I just added to the chat if folks could share some love and gratitude for Sarah, Eugenia, and Regina in the chat. It's always great to see. Um, are the grant coordinators connected to the EEC certificate? Oh my God, now everything's popping up.
I think, yeah, I think certification unit, I think that this must mean our like TQ team, our teacher qualifications folks, I'm assuming, or the folks working on certification. But yes, yeah,
Yes,
we're
that's it.
working in partnership to make sure that as we think of like a future, that everything that folks are doing now is building towards that new pathway as well. So the foundational certificate is one that will like put you into our new system as that becomes available too. So it's very well aligned. And I think Sarah and Ellen, who I'm seeing as well, have done a lot of work making sure those things are connected. And we're thinking through like the things that folks are doing now, the skills that they have, and how to lift those up. And so that when you're hiring or when you're trying to apply for a job, you can show those skills and people know what that means. But Sarah, let me know if there's anything else you
Yeah,
want to say.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, just to say that we can answer questions. And so if you have questions and your contact is at the community college, ask your question. If they don't know the answer, they reach out to us and we help them answer the question to get you the information that you need in terms of what you need for college and what you need for EEC certification, because sometimes they are like slightly different.
Well, thank you to Sarah and Eugenia and Regina. Thank you to all the EEC team that joined us and all the community college. It's always great and so great that all that is available on your website. I think for a long time it was hard to piece it together. So really appreciate kind of how transparent all that information is. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We will not have a call. Tomorrow's Friday. We will be back in action next Monday. I added the links. If you're new to the call, welcome. You can sign up to get the weekly emails and schedule. And we will see you next week on the 9:30 call. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody. Have a
Thanks.
good day.
I'll send you guys a chat.
Thanks.